Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to continue with the discussion about eternal life. And I began the discussion yesterday by saying that there are two kinds of life. There's animal life and there's eternal life. The Greeks have different terms, psyche and zoe, something like that. I should look it up. But there are two different kinds of life. There's animal life, which is a life of reacting, of reacting to stress, and then gleaning energy from the stress, gleaning energy from other animals, and from nature itself, to continue. And it's also the life of giving up energy to other people, to other animals, to nature. And so there's that life. It's a give and take. It's a give and take of energy. And it also involves adaptation. The greater stress will cause the other to adapt to it. And in that adaptation, it gives up energy to the stress. Unless you overcome the stress, then you take the energy from that stress, okay? But then you become a bigger animal, a better animal. But there's another way of living that's not dependent on this interchange of energies. It's a life that comes from God. And there is sort of an exchange process in that you willingly give up your ego life. I'll talk more about that later. But your ego life, the life of challenging others and being challenged by them, and teasing others and being teased by them, putting others down and being put down by them, and putting others on and being put on by them. It's a life of emotion, of becoming emotionally charged, angered, excited, unhappy, depressed. See, all these emotions. Lust, greed, see, all these emotions that are that come about as a result, as we react to the stress. Okay? Well, so that's the earthy life, and if you're willing to give that up, see, but you can't because that's the only life you know. Getting excited, getting angry, getting unhappy. See, all of this emotional life. And being teased and challenged and so on. You don't know, you can't think of any other life. When people aren't teased or challenged, they make something up. When there's no tease or stress around, people will create a stress. Have you known people who when everything was calm, then they would create some kind of an imbroglio or some kind of a scene? They would make a scene, or they would find something to get upset about. See, if it was your parent, if it was your mom, then she dragged you into it. Maybe she accused you of something, falsely accused you. Or every Saturday morning she would look at your room and start yelling and screaming and complaining about how lazy you were and how no good you were and how dirty your room was. And see, just create an unnecessary scene for no reason. Well, it's because something in her craves that stress. And I'll tell you more about that later. But there's that life, okay? And sitting home Sunday afternoon, then you got to look for something, some kind of excitement, some kind of stimulation. See? Now, I have to say that it's perfectly normal for little kids need stimulation. They need it to grow as egos, because that's the way we are. That's all we have. It's all we're born with. So they need that. But it shouldn't be excessive tease, and it shouldn't be cruelty. Should be the little teases of running and jumping and playing and falling down and skinning your knee and playing games and, that sort of thing. And then later, help the stress of work, of helping dad do things or helping mom do things. Natural stresses. Okay, they need them. Okay, if a kid's living in the inner city somewhere or in the city and he's cooped up in an apartment, then the child is likely to go out on the street looking for some stress. See, so they need stress, but it shouldn't be excessive and it shouldn't be unnatural. Okay, so now if you're willing to give that, at a certain point, if you're willing to give that up, and you'll be able to, if you have something else to attach yourself to. See, and that's where, that's for the second half of life. That's what's called salvation. To give up the animal life and pick up the spiritual life. Christ said something like that, but lay down your life and pick up your life, or lay down your life and pick up your cross and follow me. And he also said, I have manna of which they know not. See, Christ has a special life, a real life, okay? Whether you're thinking of it as things to do and see and to discover and joy and growth, or whether you think of it actually as energy on which to live, either way, he has that for us. But there's an exchange process. You have to be willing to give something up. You give up the ego life. And in exchange, you receive the eternal life, or the heavenly, or the spiritual life. You receive spiritual life. Okay? And when you give up the ego life apart from God, as this little prideful animal struggling in the pit with other animals, when you're willing to give that up, and then you pick up the spiritual life, see, then also something of the identity to which you now identify and to which you become bonded, see, and who becomes your source and who you look to, see, and your new environment. Something of that then comes into you, and then you begin to change for the better. See, you begin to change for the better. Now, so now you see there's an earthly life and there's the spiritual life. And so when you're willing to give up this, see, and so what could you start giving up? Let's keep it real simple. You can't give everything up. See, you can't give everything up. But for starters, how about resentment? Are you willing to give up resentment and judgment? Resenting people a little bit or hating them a little bit. Maybe smiling on the surface, but underneath judging and resenting them. See, are you willing to give that up? And how about the grudge against your dad, for example, who wasn't there for you? Or your mom who yelled at you? Or your sister who was cruel? Or your brother who pushed you down? Or, see? How about those grudges? Those resentments? Can you give those up? Well, then that's a good start. That's a good start. See? And with the rest, maybe you need some help. But the meditation is very helpful in this regard because it teaches you how to become still. Now, until you're willing to give up this ego life, see, well, a lot of people, see, they become angry, become resentful. Somebody put them down. They didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get the boyfriend they wanted or the job they wanted, or see, something along those lines, and they become resentful. Then they're determined that they're going to get out of the world what they want or what they thought was taken from them. So they throw themselves lock, stock, and barrel into this worldly pit of fighting, okay, and struggling, and that's all they know. Or they don't want to struggle and fight, but they don't have any choice because you got to make a living. You have to go out in the world, and so they get involved in it, but not knowing how to deal with stress properly. Not knowing how to deal with stress properly, they react to it, okay, and then give up their energy to it. Then they feel drained, come home from work feeling totally drained. See? But then others, they're drained, but then they find a way to get energy. They find a way to take others' energy. But you see, it's a ghoulish existence of taking energy and giving energy. See, like vampires. See, that's not, that's not the way you want to be. You want to be like Christ said, in the world, but not of the world. You want to be with other people like two flowers growing side by side. See? Both reaching toward the sun. Something like that. Getting their energy from the sun instead of from each other. You don't see plants knocking each other down. Although, in nature, there's this survival of the fittest. There's this battle for ascendancy. In every herd, you have a struggle to see which animal will come out on top and be the leader of the pack. Even among plants, you have weeds that grow in and try to muscle in and take over. See? So you have that. So that is the natural life. But you must sense that it's somehow unnatural for us. This dog-eat-dog world of like animals. We were created for something better than that, something different than that. Okay? But we fell to that lower order. So it's not natural. It's unnaturally, even the natural things, of eating and reproducing and responding to stresses, even natural stresses. Well, okay, that's the life we know, and it's not wrong. But even so, you can sense that there's something unnaturally natural about it. Humans, you envision humans being somehow more noble. Okay? Well, that's the way you can become. When you find this secret way to eternal life. Okay? Which begins when you yearn for something above the lowly existence. When you yearn for something, when you stop resenting life, resenting the everything that's involved in all the stresses, natural and unnatural. When you stop resenting them, okay, and stop unnecessarily struggling with them. See, it doesn't mean throwing in the towel either. It doesn't mean that. But it means standing back and having a different attitude toward them. Okay? Okay, so you have to work by the sweat of your brow. You have to compete. You have to live in the world where there are other people, some of whom are not nice and they're selfish, just like you. Okay? You have all these selfish people and people that are dishonest and don't trust each other. But don't forget, they may be like you. They may be like you, in that they see themselves being forced to struggle with others, but they would rather not. They would rather have a more noble existence also, see? So we're all trapped in this lowly existence, but there is a way of escape, okay? There is a way, and it has something to do with not resenting, giving up your resentment. See, that sustains this lower way of living. Resentment cuts you off from your ground of being, cuts you off from the higher way, and bonds you to the lower way. So you have to watch out for resentment. That's the first thing you have to watch out for. Okay? Then the other thing is your thoughts are excited, stimulated. This imaginative life is stimulated by stresses. If you get all upset, then you sit around thinking about what happened. See, if something on the outside stresses you, then you're sitting around worrying about it. See, but it does stimulate, and even so-called positive stresses. See, if you go to work and then you have all these things happening, and you react. See, you haven't learned the secret of going through the world without reacting. So you react, and then at night you lay in bed, and then your mind is swirling and around with all the things that happened during the day. See how the outside gets on the inside? It's another example of how the outside gets on the inside. So it was a stress on the outside, and now it's stressing you from the inside. See? It was stressing you on the outside, and you reacted improperly, probably became angry, or you became resentful, or you became overly excited, most likely resentful, and then it got on the inside. Then it stresses you from the inside. You see how that works? So the meditation is helpful because it helps you to seal yourself off from reacting to stresses. And it also helps you to step back from the squirrel cage of thinking into which you have fallen, to step back from it. Stop being stressed by the inside. So then you're not stressed. See, what is on the outside? See, it may still stress you, but it'll become. It says in the Bible, all things work for good for those who love the Lord. So let's say you begin to meditate with my meditation. Okay, you learn to stand back, take a mental step back. You learn to get out of your thinking, and you learn to go out in the world pre-armed with patience. So you go out in the world, and now instead of resenting people, you just calmly observe them. When things happen, you just observe something. Okay, well, there's something happened. You see it happen. Okay, and then you do what you can, but you don't resent it. You don't react to it. You don't become angry over it. When people say things or they look at you funny or whatever it is, where you used to get resentful toward them, now you don't. Okay, so now you're calmed down. But now any stress, look, let's suppose someone stresses you. I'll give you an example. Let's say someone says something mean. Okay, in the past you would have resented them. When you resented them, it cut you off from your inner ground of good. It cut you off from love, cut you off from patience, and then you responded with resentment or anger. But now they say something mean, and you calmly observe, and you don't resent them. Okay? Well, by not responding, what you are doing is you are thereby clinging to, see, the inner way, the higher way, the noble way. See, you detached from the animal way, and now you're clinging to the higher way. So any stress on the outside only stresses you to become a better person, a more spiritual person. See how that works? Okay. And then natural stresses, even in the past you resented them. You resented work, you resented bills, you resented other people, you resented delays. See? Now you learn to go through life just observing those things without reacting to them, without resenting them. And thereby you also grow in character. Every time you respond properly to a stress, in other words, you don't resent it, you don't get angry at it, you just calmly observe it. Okay? Maybe something is to be said. If so, you'll say something. It'll come from your intuition, and it'll be right. See? But a lot of times nothing needs to be said. Just calmly observing is enough, and not reacting. By not reacting, you remain steadfast and attached to the inner way. So all things work for good. See, for those who love. So they don't even realize it when people stress you. If they're mean or cruel or catty or talk behind your back or they say sneaky things or say what they don't mean or they're rude, whatever they are, they don't realize that they're actually doing you a favor, because now you use what their crap to grow from. Just like a flower uses, what horses leave behind and what cows leave behind. Flower uses those to grow. See, and the rose will use the manure to make beautiful roses. The rose plant will make beautiful roses with that manure. See? So you can do the same thing. You can become a very noble person by learning to not react with anger or resentment to other people's manure. Okay? Now, I hope you enjoyed today's lecture, and I will make an end to it. And we'll see you next time.